sort of saying, I think, outside of the scene, and it works about here too for the draft phase. Like, I could be like, oh, that was a terrible draft or whatever, but they probably have specific reasons and ideas on why they do it. And you said there's no correct answer. That could not be more true. Everything is sort of up in the air, especially in this draft phase, which is four characters that are going to be banned for each team alongside 2 protections.
And we are jumping in now. Speaking of that ban phase, let's see what they start off with. I have an inkling it could be a Mantis, and the teams are currently right behind Dog and I. And, I can hear the hype in these matches. You love to be here in this moment, just getting amped alongside the competition. Goodbye, Mantis. Goodbye, Jeff.
Yeah, the Jeff priority for the team of Darkzero, or rather on this side, it's ChopperMag, I believe, on the bottom, and it's Darkzero on the top. As it's interesting. This is sort of the thing we've seen out of the for Darkzero's side, banning out Mantis first is also very interesting. Understanding maybe ChopperMag love to play that hero heavily around it. They've also added Fidel to this roster too, so it's even more of a mixed roster alongside him coming over from formerly Shroud X and now on this team. ChopperMag focusing heavily on the Mantis. We saw teams do that earlier. Specifically, we saw Akenix do it. Didn't work out to any success versus a very good Jeff player. Darkzero prioritizing that hero instead, and then also getting rid of the Venom.
Yeah, and I'm surprised to see Mantis being able to make it all the way here to protect, and that is going to be a big influence on the composition they want to run. Goodbye to that cap. Bucky getting removed. We actually only saw Bucky be removed one time there in the Stage 2 of the Americas region, and that was more targeted to energy on the fly. So clearly a huge presence in the meta still.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense considering Smash, also a really good Bucky player. Taking out him is huge. Also getting rid of Adam Warlock. I actually love this ban phase from ChopperMag, right? Like you said, they're focusing on the meta, right? This is something that Velocity is pointing out to us, but they're also targeting weaknesses. So you're getting like a 2-for-1 setup, right? You're setting up your Jeff players. You're not allowed to play the Venom alongside it, sure, but at least you're able to play some other things alongside Jeff, getting rid of the cap as well for Darkzero, prioritizing all of that dive out of ChopperMag. We've heard how good that Asia region is at dive from our boy behind the scenes, Dan, who's waiting in the wing in the caster department. And for Darkzero, right, they get that Loki. We know how good they can be on that hero alongside another strategist in Mantis. We'll see how they can make it work because it does feel like ChopperMag has banned specifically for them.
I'm not judging.
And Emma is going to squeak through on both sides. Actually going to be at Hell's Heaven here for domination. And we will see what that looks like as we see the compositions, roughly shown. Rymazing, we could talk about Rymazing, maybe showing off that magic prior to when magic was quote-unquote more meta. And he just floated the Daredevil. I am looking forward to seeing if that comes through at some point. In the interview with the team, they mentioned that they do have a little bit of, those unique comps that they could pull out. And my guess, behind the scenes, which was not confirmed for the record, is maybe that is Daredevil.
And the caster lied to me. I can't wait to say that. Oh, my goodness.
No, I think Daredevil is very steamrolling, right? You think being able to just, when you find one pick, that reset on dash, it really does allow you to just essentially walk through that team and you get that overhealth compounding, and next thing you know, you are taking out tanks and 1v1ing a Groot to the face, and that is a tough thing to look at as Daredevil walking right at you.
Yeah, I mean, you know so much about that hero ship that I don't even know, right? Like a lot of the stuff you mentioned, how E-ing into right click, right? You talk about that even instead of just going for that two-handed chain.
Sure.
Right? What exactly is with that? What's the optimal play for Daredevil? Maybe there's some Daredevil fans out there that want to know just kind of how to play the hero, I guess.
Yeah, so I think a good thing to look at when you're looking at top-level Daredevil is they typically find that the throw is more impactful than the cross, just due to the nature of you can pepper it in while you're looking in any direction. If you're making any sort of movement play, it is consistently going to find damage and still allow you to keep your combos going with some animation cancels, and that is everything with Daredevil. You can find a ton of value with that cross onto especially front lines or in 1v1 situations, but you actually get more lands on the right click when there are more targets around. Go ahead and test that in the training room. If you use it on the testing dummies there, you can actually find out that when you're throwing it on one target, it will hit only twice, but if you have thrown it onto the 2 targets, it'll land 3 times roughly, if not 4, onto that target. So it's a little tricky. There's a lot of nuance to that kid.
Yeah, he's hard, man. Like, that character is incredibly tough to pick up. And, that's when we talk about this game, Marvel Rivals, it does feel like it's a mixture of hero shooter alongside fighting game at points, right? With Daredevil, you have to be doing a lot, right? Keep constant uptime is a big one, but also not, feeding and going down, getting KO. That's definitely a big part of it, too.
Yeah, and during some of the interviews, and I thought that was very interesting and something to call out, is they essentially said Daredevil is great in ladder because he struggles a little bit into a coordinated team. If a team is really coordinated, you don't see the steamrolling happening as much, where in ladder, there's less of that, and once you start the steamroll train, you can essentially just keep it going. So, but that won't happen as much when there's heavy poke, when you got some really strong, duelists, for example, even strategists that know how to paticate well. It will shut that down a bit, but even so, I'm curious to see if we will see him in play, and if that, if they were proven wrong in the interview, or if all of us in the audience proved wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's curious to see which heroes are going to be good and stuff, and that's kind of the interesting factor. Is like it feels like in the first couple weeks of a patch, Shib, like we're constantly seeing changes, shifts up, and trying to figure out what's good. But that's still developing, and these players are getting ready behind us, getting hyped up. Before we get to see the match, we're going to do a short break to let them get even more ready. Be right back after this short 3-minute break.
And right back in we go off the rip here. A teleport play from Impunity. Will we see value from this? Madara going to be looking for one. Does go right in. Crystals get popped. Does that make it pick? It does not. Good idea. Team is going to commit and use that portal as a wall. Great play here. Zenstari now on the high side, ready to set up and own as Duep is just owning that space, and the fight will be essentially reset on point.
Yeah, usually it's like what you said, Shiv, with these Emma Frost players. They try to go in for that grab, stun lock, couldn't connect, and ChopperMag disengaged it.
Yeah, great crystals too. As we start off now, Smash going to be dropping back. Is going to be on that Star-Lord. Remember, Smash on controller as you look at the bottom right there. And you see the sticks on the layout. Smash going to spin to win with a Blaster Barrage. Instead of having that bubble, is going to be using that Ultron drone to stay healthy. Already 50% to the ult. Fidel going to be taking that space right back, owning. And those group walls are detrimental on this map. Very difficult to press through as we see FE going to be making a play. Goes under.
Whoa.
Not quite yet. as we are going to be holding up for a moment. What a start, though. The idea that battle's already intense, as we essentially just saw the lockdown. I think Groot on this map, buddy, is obscene. It's just, again, you do have that ceiling style. Some things, for the folks that maybe don't know, I have had asked the question before, why do folks put Groot walls horizontally? It still acts the exact same way. And you can essentially build a full structure with walls, and they will all act individually off damage, even from your allies' damage. So put it up on the high side, and when they walk through, if they don't break that immediately, you'll be taking more damage, giving you ult faster, and just dealing more damage.
Yeah, that's such a smart play. I mean, by group players at the pro level, they just always do that. It's like a nature to them now, right? Yeah, they just do it so often. And on the counter side, I mean, it just feels like the sustain was perfect right out of both teams. Now, to not lose anybody, build up ults. I mean, that takes so much. That how do you even do that in the middle of these fights when they're so chaotic? How do you constantly stay alive? It's a weird balance you have to do, right?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of facets to the communication in a team. We talk about ult tracking, which is very important. It's exactly as it sounds. You have somebody, or as a team sometimes, in the case of DZ, we've said they're kind of more fluid with the tracking, but they're still more led by velocity on the tracking side.
Yeah.
When you ult track, there is a fight planner, which typically coordinates which ults are going to be used in a fight. And then, you also have your comms leader or somebody who's IGLing and trying to make sure you're focused on targets. That is also an option as well. So all of that together is very difficult to do as a team, but at this level of play, it's something they've figured out. So comms are why things like that, dropping back as a unit, maybe have led by the IGL who said, Aaron, we're not looking good in this fight. Let's reset. Let's start again. And if anyone does fall, you'll typically see them drop back, come back to 6.
That makes sense. That adds up. I think that what we saw in that first fight, just everybody playing slow, building up those strategist ultimates, and we will see that in just a bit. But obviously, Bobo and the side of, in general with ChopperMag, I mean, these guys just can coordinate at the highest level, just consistently, right? And that's what we heard about from this team, is that JMac behind the team is a very, very large-brained individual. And you'll hear this in general about ChopperMag, is that, the head coach of this team, JMac, and you're not going to hear about him too much, at least from our boards. And he's not in that game itself. He's not popping off. But from what we've heard from people in the European or in the Australian region, this guy is so smart, and it seems to be a consistent region where a lot of these really smart coaches come from. It's from that area where they, really think about the game at a high level, and that's sort of what I've heard about ChopperMag playing to such a good, a strong level like they have in their region. It's because of him, and because they have Bobo, they have a bunch of really talented players with now Pethic off of FMCL. You saw this team just kind of dominated the region through not necessarily just mechanical skill, but overall coordination. It wasn't seen anywhere else in that area.
I think that's a great call out. I think even I sometimes lead to the path of saying, coaches are more so for the banning side and for prep, but really it has a ton of influence on how you play as a unit on every single game. If a coach is witnessing something from a scrim, they're going to constantly try to ensure that, whether it's a negative thing from the team, you are working on that, or if there's something you need to improve on and that you can make a positive change, that you're making that change.
Yep, absolutely, and they make that change quickly, just like Darkzero made changes quickly to their roster after they flubbed out of Stage 1, and I'm sure they're not regretting their decision, right? The fact they made the LAN this time, there is 4 slots in North America, the fact that the Darkzero roster picked up Rymazing and Karova from Sentinels and then beat their very own team is an incredible story. And by the way, if you're in the area for Darkzero, and if you're a fan of Aramori on Sentinels, I believe she will be here coming up this weekend. So, if you still haven't booked your tickets, you're still deciding maybe you want to. If you're a fan of Karova and them on Darkzero, a fan of the old Sentinels rosters that were storied in War of the Realms, now coming over to, MRC and then into the Ignite series, they will all be here for you to meet. And, obviously, we hope you are, incredibly respectful of their time and, hopefully their patience. But everybody's so amazing, so lovely. The pro players, Darkzero's roster, they're all super fun to talk to. And you had the chance of talking to them earlier for potential content that we get to see later on.
Yeah, exactly. Again, these teams, that was a storied match, right? And you talk about some of the best matches to witness. That was, down 2-1 there, Darkzero, with a huge comeback of a 2 sweep at the end to take home a W.
Yeah, I mean, that was such a good series, man. Like, if you go back and watch it, it's a classic. It's just a timeless classic at this point because, I mean, all of the blood, sweat, and tears that went into that series, how frustrated it is to frustrating it is to lose a series like that after we've already talked about pro players and how much they do. I mean, we already know that signed rosters have even more pressure on them to perform, right? When you're paid to do something, it adds this sort of different level, like, of expectations. Because if you're on a free agent roster still, you know, scrimming and whatever for the first time, and you don't have a lot of money behind you, there's sort of something you can work on there. It's like, obviously you don't have as much resources, and maybe it feels like that, but you know, for these top teams, for Sentinels, they had a lot of pressure to succeed, and Darkzero took them down. They're now here. Kurova and Rymazing have proved maybe the doubters wrong. And by the way, they still are going to have a chance to prove the doubters wrong after this break. We'll come back with the map after 3 minutes.
Timer Schmimer right back into the mix we go, and that is going to find an early pick from Rymazing right on a Pethig, and that is a huge start here from Rymazing on the Ultron, who can really play it all. Velocity going to move forward, talking about that interview just prior. Again, that damage boost on Ultron is terrifying there from the Mantis. Bobo going to be playing this angle, and instead is going to be still on that Phoenix, who clearly is still in that meta at this level of play, even despite those changes. Skittles going to be dropping out the invisible boundary, the pull right back just to try to disorient the front line. Madara in a dangerous position is going to be able to escape there, and Smash starts off with the Galactic Legend. Does this find value? Looking for one. Web going to have to drop back. Psionic Seduction does find its mark, but Smash still not able to take any damage. A huge eye goes out, and it finds one as Bobo goes down. Make that two. Skittles and Fidel fall, and that is a massive play here for Darkzero.
Impunity really showing up when it matters most. We talked about this guy in general, Shib, how good he is and how good he's been on other teams that haven't been as successful as Sentinels on the side of Darkzero. But he comes through, huge Eye of Agamotto, ends the series, or ends that fight. ChopperMag back to spawn, and that was an incredibly long one despite even the pause. That was a pretty much 40-second fight. Now going into this one, Shib, ChopperMag had that Strangling Prison at the very least against Darkzero, who don't have a lot of answers to it until Velocity and Rymazing can combo for their own two Stratus Ultimates and sustain this upcoming fight.
Space is bought here, right there from Zen. Starry with a huge ult, and it's going to be matched right back with the Jeff coming through from Zen to combo up, and that is huge! Can they find the off-map? Yes, Pethig is going to find a Quadra on the retake. All that's left is Madara here, who does go down as well. 50% roughly on for DZ, and ChopperMag come back with a vengeance. Really well played there.
I mean, it's a reason why FMCL, now Pethig, was a star player at our midseason. He popped the heck off. You do it there, end that fight, and now close back and forth. We've seen some incredible pop-off plays by Impunity Pethig. We'll see who can step up next. Rymazing has that ultimate ready to go, but that Jeff has been so strong in other series. We'll see what happens in this upcoming one as Madara has that Sonic Seduction available. Maybe a slow down ChopperMag building up towards their Lokiel alongside Invis Boundary, so they have that Stratus ult advantage.
Yeah, right now the advantage looks like it's in the favor of DZ, but in terms of percentage, ChopperMag's going to be right there and slightly in this advantage if they can stall the fight a little bit. Out goes that Rage of Ultron. Smash going to spin to win. Rymazing looking for Pethig, and it is going to find value. Good focus there by Rymazing, who turns it right towards Bobo and almost gets that pick. That would have been obscene. Still holding this height here. And Matera is going to take some strong damage. Loki clearly getting some strong play. Those crystals getting a ton of value. Duep going to start the trance. A Psionic Seduction finds one onto Velocity. Impunity going to find Fidel. Bobo now onto Matera, excuse me. And it's a trade fest, but ChopperMag does come out on top. And they are stepping up. They took that loss very heavily, and they are angry about it. Coming back in heavy. Smash with a nice pick there to even the numbers a little bit, but it's not going to matter as the point is still in ChopperMag's favor.
Yeah, I mean, DZ reacted with all the ults. They had all the ults to work with, but ChopperMag, their individual mechanical skill in that fight, I mean, we may have not brought it up earlier, but Bobo popping off in that fight as well as Zenstarry without ultimates, right? They were down in that fight. Only the Stratus ultimates to sustain and able to find picks even through DZ on their side, who do have Stratus ults in this upcoming fight, but that was still an incredible fight from ChopperMag.
Korova ready with all impunity, Velocity, a lot of answers here, but the combo wombo from Zenstarry and Pethig is right here. Will it happen again? That is going to be the win condition on this fight, and it is going to be necessary, but it gets eaten in the sky! Really well played by Impunity to read that with a huge Meteor M, and still gonna stall out as there it goes. Pethig potentially finding one, or make that two. And he get off the map? Yes, he does, and that is value. Another trade there from Pethig on a ChopperMag who is disgusting on this Jeff.
Yeah, that Jeff advantage has been too much, Shib, and at the point, I mean, they don't even have anybody to teleport just yet on DZ's side. It's Impunity, but he still has a respawn timer.
Really well played there. Duep gonna find Korova. Duep on a smash now, and that is it for point one. ChopperMag showing up after that initial fight loss and winning every fight after that.
Man, this is maybe why we're seeing the Jeff prioritization again, and it makes sense. Like, you could see teams maybe think they can counter it, right? In this case, DZ also making sure they don't get the Venom, right? Making sure they don't get specific things that enable the Jeff. But it seems like these group comps, man, they just kind of walk at you with the Jeff. It doesn't even matter. I mean, like, that's insane that they can even pull this off with Loki after all of the nerfs. Everybody's screaming about how bad Loki is. You can see you don't have to really play it at the similar level like it was before. Or, I mean, you could play it with the high mechanical skill, but make up for maybe the lack of damage and the lack of healing.
Yeah, I have to completely agree with that. I think Groot, you'd really need to find a way to burst through walls. Groot gets so much value in these triple comps, as you'll see these, at this level of play, a lot of Groot being chosen into these triples because you can essentially burst through some of these stratline ultimates if you have good focus. And obviously the focus at this level is enough to make that happen, or at least buy you time to do something huge like the combo there with the Itch Jeff. You're strangling Prison into an Itch Jeff, and once again, although it got eaten, it was an insane eat there by Impunity at the time. Did not matter as another two-piece goes down from Pethig on that Jeff again, like you're saying, so much value.
Yeah, they got to react to it. I mean, whether that's saving Bubble on Magneto or the Emma Frost Diamond form, I mean, there's so many things that they got to do in reaction to what the side of ChopperMag are doing, because, yeah, the Jeff has just been free at the current moment, starting off this fight. Duep commits that Sonic Seduction towards the backside, understanding DZ don't have any Stratus ults to maybe contest it. Velocity finds Pethig somehow, though. It traded on the backside by Impunity, smash in the sky, forcing out a lot of that regen domain, and eventually the Invisible Boundary saves everybody afterwards regardless, so they lose Impunity, and then they're still trying to sustain. Forcing out Stratus ultimates from ChopperMag is going to be scary, because now Skittles pops the Goddess of Death, right? He has a Stratus ultimate. They also hit a big strangling Prison from Zenstarry. What was there with the follow-up Shib, and everything gets cleaned up on Darkzero's side. Back to the spawn slowly but surely, but the portal eventually comes through. They don't want to give this up yet, just Shib, because we've seen teams really need that first point control to have a big advantage, and Darkzero are about to lose that once this portal closes.
And the portal burn there, right? That's tough. He really wanted to try to make a retake happen, so the portal was clearly committed prior to those last few picks, but when they come through and you commit portal, it's a tough look. 3-minute cooldown there as we start up the next fight. Korova ready with the Eternal Bond, and Matera as well with that Psionic. Bobo going to be holding on to a very threatening Dance of the Butterfly, ready to cutterfly that back line. We'll see if that gets value in this next fight, as here we go. Bobo on the off angle, looking towards the back line of Velocity, who is on that Loki. Those crystals burning that cooldown is massive if it's able to happen. Still going to put that damage on, get ult ready. It is available. Korova starting up here with the Eternal Bond now towards that back line, and out we go. Just the blind with a ton of damage. Murdara going to commit here with a Sonic Seduction towards the back line. Is going to find one, walking almost two. Murdara going to be able to get that pick there onto Duep. And out goes that Galactic Legend once more. A huge Itch Jeff here from Pethig, who might find a three-piece on everyone in the back line, and is going to be able to make one, potentially two. Yeah, I'm not sure if they are able to retouch.
Yeah, they come back in, but I mean, it's still ChopperMag in the edge until Smash finds two. There's that aim assist. There's the damage coming from him on Star-Lord is beautiful. So great job by Smash to close it out there, Shib, and that was a very hectic fight that still, DZ were able to come back at the very last second, close it out, but look how many ults it cost them, dude. That's brutal.
Yeah, a lot of commitment there from DZ, and it's just buying you time. Granted, taking the point here at 56% is important. You don't want it to hit to that 70 mark, making it a one-fight game. But again, DZ at the current moment down that portal. If they can buy more time and trade for a while, they may be able to have it back there for the final touch. But again, ChopperMag up in advantage of ultimate. Skittles holding on, as well as Zenstari, and we've seen how impactful those root ults have been. But Smash's damage is obscene now. Spin to win, and out goes that invisible boundary, which is matched back by Skittles. There is that strangling, but the crystal's going to keep everyone healthy. Really good job there by the side of Velocity to keep everyone up and moving. Still taking presence on point is DZ, who are winning this fight even through the double commitment of ultimates. Matara here, going to start up with a Psionic in a moment, I believe. There it is. Looking right again towards the backline, going to walk them, is going to pull one, but great wall placement there from Zenstari.
And the macro play from ChopperMag been too good, right? Disengage that fight. Now they come back into it. Zenstari just trying to show some presence. Foreshadow another Groot ult coming out from DZ in a second, but Ibis boundary in the backside keeps everybody healthy. Bobo as well. The damage to the backside is here, but still sustaining because the God of Mission comes out from Velocity in the sky with that extra strangling prison on the downside. Can they find damage with Velocity, who, by the way, God of Mission Star-Lord of all players, and it's resulting in his team going down, it looks like, also slowing him in the sky. Meanwhile, Pethic commits that It's Jeff, but Smash counters it. They finally deal with the Jeff on the backside, and that could finally enable Darkzero, who's nearly 90% of the board. They still have control of that point. Zenstari commits strangling prison, but it might not be for anything, Shib, because he goes down.
Velocity gonna find one, and again, DZ coming through and showing up in this moment, even being down in ultimates, and that is why winning that fight when they were down ult and coming back in, not necessarily overcommitting, but committing heavy into the next fight is a huge win, and I'm not sure the portal can come through. It is going to come through at the last moment here. Ton of damage is out. Crystal's going to be matched right back from the side of Skittles on ChopperMag. Team is going to reset. Ult advantage going to be slightly in the favor of Chopper, who Skittles will have ult. Fidel going to be close there as well. And if the side of DZ, they just have this. Oh, there's that Psionic off the rip here from Matara. Can that get value onto the back line? Going to be looking at the front. A few very close to walking, but not quite there. Great movement and positioning by ChopperMag now. And out goes this again. An invisible boundary. Velocity almost not able to get through with an insane wall there from the side of Groot with that iron wall. Is going to hold on here and still going to get out there with the cloak. Damage boost goes out. The blind is there. Smash ready with a spin to win, and ult is very close, and it is going to be launched any moment here. Everybody playing a little bit on their heels, afraid to lose this fight as it could mean everything, but at this point, that strange portal might be back for DZ. And out goes that. Oh my goodness, the Galactic Legend, the strangling prison. Ooh. Can they combine? Duep gonna find Velocity. ChopperMag up a number, make that two. Smash can only force that back to one as Bobo goes down there on the Wolverine, and popping that passive is enough value to maybe potentially force off the Wolf, but wow, what a battle. And the retake from Chopper.
That was insane. I mean, that was, first of all, Velocity's uncontested on the high ground the entire time, keeping everybody healthy, on top of the fact that in the low ground, Impunity portals back, then blocks off where everybody on the side of ChopperMag was, and that fight still ends up in the favor of ChopperMag. However, in this comeback, it looks like Madara and Smash combined for two. Also, Avongo's here from Pethic, but it doesn't connect.
That is a huge retake again from DZ, who come in heavy. Matara gonna be over there on the Angie. He's gonna find a two-piece Smash now on a Duep, and that OT is ticking down. No portal available. That should be it. We have a 1-1 series on our hands here on Domination. Let's get it.
1-1, Darkzero and ChopperMag. We assumed this would be a good series. I think that a lot of the people maybe tuning in now are starting to learn who ChopperMag is, starting to figure out Darkzero. He's a team to be contested with, too. I mean, a lot of the North American teams are incredibly strong. Same thing with EMEA. You know, we've heard people even mention Chop maybe should have made it here to LAN, and they eventually somewhat did, right, in the fact that some of them are playing for Team OUG now, and maybe not in the most ideal circumstances. But regardless, Darkzero is a team that, when we both watched them in North America, wasn't necessarily the best team yet, but you could see they had that potential, and now they tied up in a 1-1 series against the #1 seed out of Australia.
This is crazy. If you look at these ultimate lines right now, roughly even, slight advantage here for ChopperMag, as we will see Skittles getting that out relatively quickly. Bobo holding on to that last hand. Invisible boundary available for Fidel. The Eternal Bond from Kurova, and that Eye of Agamotto from Impunity. And that's always the dance that you do with Strange. It's you played that portal, you got that all. Do you switch and go to something a little more quote-unquote meta for your comp, or do you stay on Strange? And this is a huge potential portal play here, as we'll see what they're able to do.
I mean, they go for it early. The kidnap's going to come through from maybe Madara or Madara. We'll see if he can connect on it. They also go with the Terra Cape for the dodge from ChopperMag. Good rotation from them, avoiding a potential cheese play. Also, it's committed. A last stand from Bobo to counter it. They get velocities.
Ooh, that's a huge eye, though, but out goes the crystals, and it's matched right back with pressing the Q here, or the double thumbsticks if you're on the sticks. Bobo holding on a point, and this is great positioning. The retake comes through, but the point is ChopperMag's, and that is a tough look as now more commitment comes through. Smash gonna start off. Out goes that invisible, the strangling prison. It's matched right back. Here Madara holding on to an ult that is available. Madara, as Velocity now copies up and walks them forward with the Soul Resurgence. Everybody is hitting that Q button. Somebody's got to fall, but nobody has gone down yet as Rymazing finds the first pick on a Bobo, and that puts them up. Velocity on a Duep. Will it's Jeff get big value? Looking for some height here to make a play that makes it more difficult to counter.
Nice fade.
Is gonna, what a fade.
What a fade. We hear that all the time, man. Like, people not using fade at the right time. And now we see Kurova, big pop of that ability, keeps everybody healthy. On top of, in the early game, we saw Velocities have a nice copy, keep his team alive with those, with that regen domain. I think that he's been a standout player for Darkzero. He's been putting the team on his back alongside that pick from Rymazing, like you mentioned. Now in the cycling fight, Shib, we do have Rymazing with that Soul Resurgence against the Sonic Seduction from ChopperMag. Zenstari actually hasn't been able to find maximum value out of the Assault yet, but we'll see in the cycling fight with Bobo now switching over to that 2-2 style composition if they can finally take advantage of the damage output they have.
We've seen Pethig in the past find a ton of success on the Wolverine. Typically Terra, FMCL in the past. Now Pethig has found success there with the Wolf, and into a Groot it is a problem, but also into things like Strange. You really don't have a lot of escape, where Madara will have that diamond form to stay healthy. Spin to win goes in heavy on a Fidel. Pethig gonna find impunity early on. Zenstari finds one on a Rymazing as they want this point back quickly. It's all about stalling now. Duep looking to that pick on Madara. Yes, make it two, why don't you? Bang, down goes Kurova as Pethig follows up and cleans up. Alts going to be still in the favor of ChopperMag. Not having to commit a lot in that fight is a huge win for them. 60% roughly for DZ, and now 30 for ChopperMag.
Yeah, that's a big deal. And you mentioned Pethig, a bit of an opposite of a caster curse, bit of a caster blessing, popping off on the Wolverine. Knowing what we know how good he is on that character, and it makes sense to come from Australia and play the character that has an actor from Australia as well. Now in the upcoming fight, Darkzero, they do have Kurova alongside Smash. They commit that early Strangling Prison on the side of ChopperMag. Does it have the follow-up though?
Well, a lot of commitment there onto that Strangling Prison, and again, just not finding too much value. Smash trying to force out some ults, does do so as Fidel matches the invisible boundary. Bobo going to be back on that Phoenix here, still keeping pressure on a Smash, who takes away with an off angle. He's going to immediately re-engage here as another boundary is popped. Rymazing with the Soul Resurgence. Madara here going to start off with the Psionic, and now an Eternal Bond. Once again, the commitment is insane. They've got to find this pick, and they want this point quickly, shutting them down at 70%, and they do, owning that space, but the entirety of ChopperMag doing a great job of retaking together. Everyone healthy, and does not go down to almost a triple, almost quadra commitment of ults.
How did they live that? That's crazy. Also the back line. Here comes the Sonic Seduction. The follow-up from Bobo. Rymazing goes down, and so does Smash. Impunity backside. Tries to go with the Meteor Ram. Can he find Fidel? No, Fidel dodges it, and down two members of their team. No ultimates here. How does Darkzero even come back against this when Wolverine is swinging those claws with full enragement? Darkzero do have control of the point at the very least, but ChopperMag are going to get back.
Yeah, we will see a portal here from Rymazing coming in, essentially trying to hold on to the point, and they did. That is a beautiful portal. Make sure you're doing that as we see more power in here from Pethig, who is charged up with 100. Bobo going to find a two-piece out of Velocity and Rymazing. They wanted to get to 100, and they did, but it's all about coming back once more and closing the job, or can ChopperMag hold on tight? What a defense here from ChopperMag, who still hold on. That invisible boundary. Smash going to have already. Kurova as well. Madara should be there. Bobo will also have that all.
Boy, and Shib, we watched so many games, you and I, throughout the series. I don't think I've seen a retouch with a Strange Portal that close. That was such a last-second touch. And now in this upcoming fight, it's last chance territory for both teams to take map number 1.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That is very smart play. Good call out there from Rymazing with that touch to make sure they get to 100. But now it's another final fight situation. You've got to commit and get to that point. 98%. Bobo going to find Velocity early. The touch comes in as Kurova now commits with the Eternal Bond and is going to stay on point. I was worried there. Might drop off for the OT, ticking down. Nobody on the point at the moment. OT will likely come down soon. Nice pick there by Madara, who's going to even things out as Kurova goes down. And there is a huge commitment here. Smash is up in the sky with the Galactic Legend. Ton of damage out, but it's not enough to burn through this invisible boundary. And as I say that, Pethig just barely escapes for a moment, takes a ton of damage. Meteor M not able to find too much purchase now. Still going to commit again as Velocity copies up Rymazing. It's matched right back with with an insane strangling prison, but now Bobo's gonna portal in, and this is an absolute battle, folks, back and forth as this portal comes in once more. Can they find the picks in the OT? The spawn's going to be slightly longer. Bobo going to drop back here on that Strange. No ults available for ChopperMag just yet. Nothing available for DZ. It's a neutral battle. Who can push through as Matara holds on right here, keeping him off the point. The kick into the wall, and does now have that psionic, and is going to be looking to pull them out of this invisible boundary. Once more going to start as the walking begins. 2 walking at the moment, but it is not enough to get a pick through that boundary. Ult's going to be ready for Skittles shortly. Zenstarry finds velocity. Are you kidding me on this retake? It is insane. Skittles copies up the boundary available whenever necessary. Fidel finds Matara, and that is still going to be another win here for ChopperMag, who are likely going to close this out as Smash falls, and that should do it. What a retake here. What a play by ChopperMag.
Somehow DZ touched the point. Overtime takes down, but you're right. That's going to be it. ChopperMag close it out. Amazing not able to pop that Soul Resurgence, and what a game number 1, Shib, as we close out on Hell's Heaven. ChopperMag takes it against the number 4 seed in North America. Can they keep it up, though? We'll have to find out, because I don't know about you, Shib. You casted that fight for about 2 minutes, and I was worried for your health. Now I'm worried for ChopperMag and Darkzero's long-term health, because that was an incredibly long fight, but I think it comes down to ChopperMag had the portal advantage. They came through, and they've been so good at sustaining in these fights. And huge shout-outs to the strategists, first of all, but that's mainly the rotations. We've heard a lot about JMac, and you can see exactly why. This team is playing on all cylinders. You called it out as well in one of the fights when ults were popped. Still, nobody went down. So this team is disengaging so many ults and such fluidity to them. I haven't seen it before.
Yeah, that was an insane battle to watch. So back and forth there. I was not sure how it was going to go. Just insane last-second touches. I truthfully thought that portal that came in from Bobo was not going to be enough, because the spawn started, extending there in the OT, and down one early on there. The group from Zenstarry was out, so I was like, I'm not sure this is going to go their way. Came right back, got a couple picks, held on, got those strats ults, and it was over.
That was crazy. Yeah, I mean, that was an insane fight, and we'll have to see if the series continues in such a similar fashion. But before we see that, we're going to a short break. We'll be back after this.
Which ones have what it takes to become the best of the best?
The fight is gonna happen right here, right now.
Everyone, DZ going after it, but up top, ChopperMag comes in and takes that W. What a battle and a fun one to watch.
Yeah, that was a banger, and I'm sure we'll see more moving forward, considering, I mean, with that match being so close between the number 4 seed in North America, and Darkzero was not an easy team in North America to beat. They were constantly improving every week, and now at the LAN, right now with a brand new patch, there's so many things that have changed, and you can see ChopperMag just that little bit better when it mattered most, just disengaging the right timings, and I think this whole team is just well-coached, well-oiled, and the fact that they're having Bobo IGL is just crazy to me, right? Like, we hear them shouting in the background, right, every now and again,
so
but it's awesome. This is an incredible series to see, and I'm sure we'll get to talk to those guys more later, and I'm sure you guys are going to want to know more about our players as we progress through this group stage later on.
And again, folks, we are going to be heading to a new stage as this tournament progresses. Right now, we're in our group stage setup, but the stage is being built right below us. Can't wait for that, but we're going to toss this over to draft. Again, this map going to be selected by Darkzero, and it will be Central Park.
Yeah, Central Park is an interesting map too, Shib, because I mean, it's interesting for the side of Darkzero, where they actually look pretty good on this map. That's why they're taking us here. In their history, this is one of their best map types, if not their best, or rather map itself. And that's because Rymazing's so good at these flying heroes. You saw him start on the Ultron at points. They had to switch off it, you know, change things up later on. But you can see the prioritization towards Mantis again. ChopperMag getting rid of Emma this time first, understanding they want to go for that Mantis stuff. We can mix it up and get the Emma for free.
And there's a lot of value in that Emma. We talk about that all the time. Really does bully that front line and essentially kind of sets the pace for your team, because that CC window and the target prioritization you can have during that tackle is everything, especially against a big body like something like Groot. And you can charge up on Groot walls, you know, a fact that maybe you can take into ladder.
Well, you know, it's interesting because, you know, now you have to threaten that, like, Psylocke ban, right? So maybe with these, because they're targeting on the Vanguards, right? They're understanding they're maybe getting rid of the dive if they do want to play towards that Jeff alongside that Psylocke. But what is this last ban going to be for DZ? Because at the current moment, you're still getting that Emma Frost team up. I've loved how ChopperMag has done ban phase so far. DZ's ban phase is a little bit, I don't know, straightforward with the Mantis stuff. ChopperMag at least understands they take advantages when they're given them. Alongside, they know Emma Frost is not a priority for DZ. They take advantage of that early, banning it out, and DZ didn't react to it. They just were like, okay, let's go for the Mantis ban and protect. You can see they're on that straight path to victory in that regard, getting these mismatches with the Loki now in this case.
Yeah, I think we saw a lot of value in Loki crystals there, that regen. It was huge against something like Groot. It's essentially like a counter or some other cooldown you have to consistently look out for before you commit, as we do see Zenstari going to be making that choice of Groot. But again, this is one of those maps that we will see a portal play come in, and sometimes teams will like to get rid of Strange to ensure that you cannot make that happen, but in this case, not going to be what we see. Madara going to be on that Magneto right there. Instead, I've got to check again. I think Emma was removed, so good play.
What do you, Shib, like, I'm curious, like why do you think, like, because they ban out the Venom in the cap. We know how strong those heroes are.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that they don't, when the Mantis is banned and protected, that they don't even go for the group ban, right? They're not like, they don't value that team up enough, especially with the Loki and the Mantis out there now with the protected. Seems like ChopperMag are totally fine giving that, but I mean, you've talked about it. So much healing with that team up with Groot, right? Alongside Mantis and Loki.
Yeah, I think it just farms ult too, right? Another comp that you typically try to give the teammates is just play around that wall, get that healing, and then commit in a fight. And watch my ult charge just skyrocket. I can press Q instantly, and that is everything there. That team up is absolutely, quote-unquote, slept on, I would say, as we see them start off here. DZ setting up a little bit of a cheeky wall setup. Curious what that is going to be for. And as we start up now, DZ doing something a little bit different.
Well, I mean, ChopperMag also, they're going to be on that triple shrouded, or triple composition, right?
They are attacking, excuse me, so it is switching up. My apologies.
Well, no, they're on the triple composition now, Shib, and they have Zenstari on that Angela too. We see this sometimes on more of these convoy maps, less on these convergence map types. Smash going for the flank, going for a pull through, but I've seen Rymazing on this map too, and just get picked off by a potential Angela in the sky, but now it's actually Smash to take down one already.
Huge pick there from Smash, immediately going to find Pethig, and that's going to be the numbers to walk in heavy as they are owning this space and consistently walking forward. DZ looking lights out right now, shoving them right back, and that's exactly what they need to do as a team. The side of ChopperMag, we're going to retake as a unit, get healthy, and try once more. You do not need to commit, and they're still holding on to the point. Not even sure if they noticed that Angela is just buying time on points at Starry. They look for the play here onto the front line of Impunity. Ton of damage goes out. Nobody is going to trade that right back to Zen Starry. He's doing a great job dancing around this natural cover, owning, and shield goes up. Velocity trying to own, take space, does have that copy available. As Smash finds the web once more.
And he got rid of, rather in the sky, the Loki. 3 members of the team of DZ pushed back towards their side. Kurova goes down on the back by Bobo.
And Bobo is going to fall here from Matara, just trying to even the odds. Out goes Phoenix, who comes in with the end song Inferno. Velocity gonna res Kurova right back in, who's on that invis. Bobo gonna self-res and keep the numbers roughly even. Out goes a huge eye that finds virtually everyone. Can they capitalize? Pethic with a great combo there is gonna likely put them up in numbers, but Amazing finds Zen Starry, and a huge res comes through from Bobo on the retake once more, and that should be enough for ChopperMag to own this space.
Yeah, I thought, it was a smart play by DZ, but before he went down, Velocities copied Bobo. The fight's still happening, obviously, for ult charge in this case, but that was an interesting play by DZ. Regardless, this first point has been a tough cookie to crack as ChopperMag are just stalling forever with this triple-triple alongside the Jeff, and they basically have damage with those characters alongside Adam Warlock, and Zen Starry, like you said, has been phenomenal on Angela.
That is a huge Heavens coming in hot with that Retribution, and is going to pull out a few, but just clones. Web drops backwards. Smash taking that space. Out goes ESGF from Skittles, and this looks threatening here. It is very close. Does it find much? Walking away, Skittles just running, and it does find 3. Are you kidding me, Skittles? With a huge ultimate once more. Smash, Impunity, and Velocity all fall. What a play there.
First it was Pethic, now it's Skittles. It seems like we have an incredible amount of Jeff players, and Skittles is well doing on the roller. So incredible to see a performance like that on Jeff. And ChopperMag taking advantage. You can tell this team is so well coached. They peel for them specifically. They know if this, then that kind of situations. Darkzero apparently don't right now. 1 minute left to go on the clock. They just have Amazing with that end song Inferno. It's going to be against Fidel with the Invisible Boundary, and then Bobo is going to have res available. Madara has to go big. He's going to have to hit a massive Meteor M, but we'll see if ChopperMag's ready for it.
Yeah, that combo is everything. It's going to be end song into the Meteor M, and that could be enough to make a big play, but they need to make sure it works here as everything's on the line with 47 seconds. And Starry, though, going to find Velocity. Kurova goes down. Down goes Amazing and Matara, and they are not committing fast enough. Really well played by ChopperMag on this defense. Once again, showcasing the power of this Angela.
When it was the good ult reads, right? The ult tracking phenomenal by ChopperMag in that fight, taking advantage of DC, like you mentioned, having no shot at his ults. Now we're entering last fight territory because of that, all because of an aggressive play and well-timed by ChopperMag. Good ult tracking by their ult tracker.
Here we go once more on the reset as Bobo holding on to that res. Pethic does have that Eye of Agamotto, right? Amazing with the end song and Matara as well. Pethic tries to make it happen there. Doesn't seem like too much fall. Smash gets a kick there on his end Starry, who's res right back as another goes down. But once more, the res from Rocket, the BRB, right into another Karmic Revival, and some commitment is heavily launching as Velocity now is going to start up here with the Eternal Bond. Do up on the high side. Smash ready. This last stand is very important here as the res should no longer be active. Down goes that end song. It is going to be match, and this is looking now in the favor of Darkzero, who are owning this space. OT is up. The third point is ticking. Will they get it right? Amazing find Skittle, and that should be enough as they do push through point 1.
Yeah, they've struggled with this first point, man, and it kind of goes back even to Sentinels. Like, I feel like when I've watched Amazing alongside Kurova, for some reason, they do well in the Streets phase, second phase of the game, and the third phase too, but that first point on this map, on Central Park, always feels tough for them, oddly enough, and you can see it's because in Starry, they stun-locked Velocities, right, in that fight where he's trying to go in with the Colloquial. Impunity goes down during it because that stun is basically the entire time he's stuck on the spike, and now in this upcoming fight, Zen Starry could go aggressive, force out of the straddle if they had any, or at least a lot of cooldowns out of DZ now.
Yeah, Darkzero to 100 at that moment, looking like they were struggling and then cleaning it up in a fight that maybe didn't look like it was in their favor. Zen Starry does have that commitment as it's launched right now. Evans Retribution onto the backline, but the Crystals going to be huge. Well played on the counter there to the side of Velocity, who's finding so much value. Great tackle now right to the back line as Matera cannot hold on. With Pethic's combination off of Zenstari, out goes the dance of the Cutterfly. Impunity gonna find one though to even the odds a little bit. Bobo not able to find too much value there. Resetting once more in that invisible boundary. A lot of commitment here from Chopper as DZ now is trying to build up ult. Smash now starts up the fight as the team starts running in with a resurgence. Duep gonna have to drop back and give that space away as the team is walking through the streets phase like you've mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, Bobo has to live back here, but unfortunately goes down. That's the tough part with the Psylocke. That's maybe why DZ were okay letting it through, is they find Bobo in the middle of these fights, at least have multiple times in a row, forcing him now to look to it Adam Warlock, but they're down him in this upcoming fight and already committing ult. Meteor M comes out from a Matera.
Yeah, that's a huge pick there onto Skittles. Still making it work, even dodging that shield from the side of Emma. Still gonna own this space. Velocity ready with a push and pull if available. And yeah, that force physics not even needed as Karova, Matera, and Rymazing are just owning this street. And like you said, just walk through. 2 minutes still on, but this is a very defensible position here from ChopperMag.
Yeah, they've been figuring it out constantly throughout the series. At least they're adapting now on this third point, but it's just how Darkzero operates. They struggle on first points, and anybody can, right? It's a matter of it's always defensive-sided. You have all those high grounds to work around, especially with you're playing against Jeff and a bunch of different combinations that counter your Stratus ultimates. It makes it very tough on the attacking team. Now we have 1 minute and 45 seconds, a lot of time in the bank because of how well DZ played in the Streets phase. They also have ultimates to work with, but it's going to be against Zenstari, who can maybe force out a lot with a Strangling Prison.
And a lot is being committed to double stranglings, but who gets more value? Bobo going to find Rymazing early on in that fight, and once again, Nell going to commit Karova as well. The Venn diagram is out. Bobo, again with this ultimate, is available, and it's right on the back line. Will this one work? And they are going to patty cake for days, playing around that shield. Beautiful play, but it doesn't matter as the front line gets neglected, as Matera goes down, and they are still owning. Smash going to have to drop back. I'm not sure if I love that commitment right there.
Yeah, I mean, they get a walk in at least.
Okay.
Well, they find one on Zenstari. Also, Rymazing is going to be back in the fight at the very least, but at the moment, you're trying to commit, more ultimates on the opposite side of ChopperMag. So both teams obviously where they can win it, trying to play for the fade, but they can't! They get pulled in! Oh, but it doesn't matter because Rymazing saves them! Are you kidding?
It was played off the wall, enough damage to burn through it. A huge ultimate there from Skittles that just gets countered completely. Darkzero are lights out right now, continuing their pace, walking this thing towards with 40 seconds on. Can they shove through the entire 3 points and make this series dicey for the side of ChopperMag, who are coming back with Pethic's ultimate, and that is a scary one. Velocity gonna engage here early. Matera in the sky lands it, and it does find enough value as Zenstari goes down. Up a number once more, and they are panicking. It's dicey. There's the commitment. Kraken impact on virtually everyone. Can they get the pick? Rymazing in the sky, though. Pethic does get the reset on Smash. Bang! Rymazing comes down, but it will not be enough to find too much value. Duep gonna start here. Is gonna start the trip. The Psionic does get a few. 3 walking almost, and that is massive. Could be enough to shut them down with 4 seconds on. The portal needs to come through. Will it come through?
Yeah, good job not panicking there from ChopperMag. Portal now comes through from the side of DZ, but counter portal! Maybe off the map? Could he fall? Impunity goes off the map because of the push, and with that, they're going to be lacking him and Matera in this upcoming fight. You're also against so many members of ChopperMag. The Bucky, who's been popping off, Bobo, who's been going insane, Velocities and Rye both fall, and with that, the portal is basically negligible now, Shib, as they close it out.
That was an awesome counter portal that maybe didn't get the value off the rip, but that push-through portal to fall right through off map was an insane combination. The eat comes through from Skittles to end it. What a hold there by ChopperMag, but that is a very big push on the side of Darkzero.
This is a high-level game. Like, this is unbelievable, like, the amount of counters we're seeing to everything, right? Rymazing saves the team from going off the map by finding Jeff. They ate 3. Right? How often do you see a Jeff get KO'd in a fight with 3 people in his mouth? Not very often. And Rymazing saves them there, and then towards the end, like you mentioned with the portal plays, beautiful from both teams.
Yeah, a lot of focus there in very intense situations, but again, that is a big push here in the side of Central Park. That staircase is very defensible. Point 1 is very defensible, especially with portal retake, which is on the table here for both sides, and we will see if DZ can hold on or if ChopperMag can walk them through to take home this W.
They very well could. I mean, it was such a fun series, and this is when we talk about when we want to watch some beautiful Marvel rivals, right? And we have been, right? We've been treated to that already in this game number 2 of the day, and that's what the high level of this LAN gets you in this group stage, right? You're still going to see maybe Group A is also terrifying because everybody's talking about Group B, but ChopperMag has looked like a formidable opponent. Same thing with Darkzero. From everything we're hearing, This LAN is the highest level of Marvel Rivals we have seen so far in esports, in this esports' history, in this young esports' history, because we've only really been around for about a year and a half, if you're including the beta, less than a year otherwise. But ChopperMag with the first map win, now in map number 2, Darkzero. Didn't full cap, but that's still quite far that they got. Now they're on defense here, Shib.
Start off with the first fight, and this should be a fun one to watch. Again, these teams putting everything on the line here, just grinding. Great off-angle play here from the side of Pethic, who's just going to wait and bide time and get a huge tackle, and unfortunately not able to make it work in that moment. Still a good idea for the early play, but it does not work. With 100 charge, though, that's exactly what you're looking for as a Wolverine player, especially going into something like Impunity's crew, just a big body for you to land those tackles on. And here we go again with this first fight. Walls are committed. Not another, unfortunately, not able to land that tackle either. Does get slept and loses that passive instantly. Great focus there by DZ, but Duep going to find Smash early on, puts them up a number, and that should be huge.
On the backside, that's very interesting because they commit that see you later too for that damage boost too. And the follow-up maybe comes through from Amazing to counter it, but he actually finds one. Pethic goes down, Bobo trades it for Impunity, who tosses out the Strangling Prison. They also get a sustain now of Velocity in that God of Mischief, copying his Invisible Woman, or rather his Cloak and Dagger with that Eternal Bond, keeping everybody up too. But DZ, do they have the counters to ChopperMag, who's going to come in potentially with that Sonic Seduction? It looks like they do, and they've sustained after losing Smash early on.
Yeah, and that's just a sign of a team that's very confident, right? If you're able to drop back into that doorway and play slow, and this could be a huge meteor ram up in the sky, Eternal Bond is committed at the end there, and that's the side of Kurova after Matara was up there. Duep going to find the pick onto Smash once more, puts them up, but Kurova going to take out Duep to turn that right back and still owning this space. Again, shout out to them retaking on that backside, still holding on to Amazing with an ultimate in this moment. Bobo, though, going to commit. Is that going to be one? Yes, Kurova goes down. The reset's available for Bobo, and that is the steamroll that you can see here from Bucky. Everybody focusing on the Phoenix, who does come through and land, not able to burn that down. Impunity going to be able to find Bobo there with a nice start, and it is going to be on the back as now Skittles commits a Sia to try to get the damage through. Duep going to start off with a Psionic. Everybody is pressing Q, and they are going to be walking as Pethic takes out Impunity.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to rely on overwhelming damage hit with this 2-2 composition. Eventually, it pans out, and they close out on the side of DZ, who really got overwhelmed in that last fight. Potential Portal play coming from Impunity. He switches off that group, but look, Pethic's already reading it. Portal is out by Impunity on the backside in a moment, or will be. There it is. And Last Stand try to get there in time on Pethic's side. They find Amazing. Meanwhile, on the opposite side of the Portal, now we're here on the point. Down Amazing.
Yeah, that is tricky as Zenstari gets another pick here. ChopperMag is going to show their experience in these moments as they find everybody, and they all trickle down, getting KO'd left and right. One body on point, but not for long, and they are able to take point one here with almost 4 minutes on for the Streets phase.
And this is what we're talking about. There's such a high-level thinking, right, Pethic? Even though he didn't get the cancel of the Strange Portal, like we see a lot of people do want to stun the Strange Portal to make sure they don't fully get it off. Smash, by the way, switching over to Hela now. But Pethic reads that, tosses Last Stand, gets the elimination before they can even make it through the portal regardless. Smart plays. Now in this upcoming fight, Streets phase, similar situation to Darkzero. Darkzero almost got first held. It was very close. ChopperMag maybe not as close to that situation, but now ChopperMag switch Bobo over to the Psylocke. They put Pethic back over to the Bucky, and now they have that see you later. 40% damage boost here from that ult now in this patch.
Yeah, and they are using that Sia very aggressively, consistently starting fights with it to try to make big plays, and it's clearly working as two go down here. Again, ChopperMag showing up. Make that 3-4, why don't you? Shutting down again into Impunity and just owning all of these fights. That Sia has been a huge threat here and is clearly working. The first time we've had eyes on this tournament.
Yeah, and this is what people talked about, just break the see you later. In this patch, you can't really do that, right? It's, you know, it's too much health currently to stay alive, and they also get too much damage on the other side that while you're shooting the see you later, you're going to go down if you have nothing in that fight. Now we at least have more ults on DZ's side, but this contest is always really hard for teams.
Velocity commits Amazing as well. Up in the sky, Kurova holding on here to the boundary, which is not committed. Impunity and Matara, though, commit. Everybody is using those ults. Matara going to find a two-piece onto Duep and Pethic, though, putting them up 2 numbers for the moment. No ults available here for ChopperMag, but once again, that was a lot of commitment for DZ on the retake, and I believe it was necessary, as that is a very tough retake right at the end here. Well done by DZ, but ChopperMag definitely coming out on top in ult advantage.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've talked about how hard that second contest is in this point because of how short it is. A lot of maps like this, right, on Convoy and Convergence. Convergence specifically have very short second phases and can result in snowballs very quickly. But for Darkzero's side, Invisible Boundary up, you called it, not a lot of ults. ChopperMag now having a lot of ults. DZ, can they take advantage of the situation they're in with this defensive high ground or something? Bobo's already flanking.
Yeah, and we will begin again with this insane fight. We talk about ult advantage, and once again, ChopperMag going to be up. Korova, though, with a huge pick in the neutral prior, is massive for the side of DZ. Korova still holding on to that boundary, maybe not able to get it off as a few are in a dangerous position, and that is a huge invisible boundary. Everybody still healthy here for the side of DZ. ChopperMag down a number for that moment as Bobo got picked early. We talked about in the neutral, but Zen Starry gonna start up with a Groot hug. Does that get one? Yes, Pethig gonna find impunity, but not much else as Velocity copies up, and out goes another boundary. Matched right back by the dance floor from Skittles, who is owning this space and potentially switching to damage in a moment as everybody is healthy. Up goes Rymazing with the end song. Will this have a combination? Just gonna buy time, but have to come down here. Gets destroyed out of the sky, not able to make that land happen. Great focus once more by ChopperMag as Fidel still has that ult, and DZ are looking in a dangerous position as two more go down, and that should be point two, even though Rymazing is able to get a pick.
I mean, this Meteor M could be big. They also string me prisoned. They want to close it out on him, and they do. Goodbye, ChopperMag, but Bobo, he's here with the Dance of the Cutterflies, but it doesn't matter because we have the regen domain from Velocities to keep everybody healthy. Shib, incredible by them.
Matera and Impunity, are you kidding me? The most clutch combination of ults ever to make a huge trade in a dire situation after losing multiple numbers. Wow, that was that was awesome to watch as we start up once more with the double Venn diagram available. Duep going to be close to ult, and that is all we'll see here in this early fight.
Yeah, we'll see indeed, and they're building it quickly, building collapses, and Rymazing has been sort of putting the team on his back, but now a Bobo going over to Wolverine. You saw in the last fight too. People are starting to wake up on the side of Darkzero, flanked now from Bobo.
Yeah, Bobo now making that switch, like you said, to Wolverine. The tackle goes out early. Now onto Smash, who does get the sleep off, but not for long as the damage comes through. Pethig gonna get a reset, make it two! Do I see three? Yes, I do! A quadra! As Pethig is walking through, gonna get a reset off Clone. Make it five! Do I see a full team wipe? Beautiful play here by Pethig, who is lights out in a moment that is necessary for them.
Yeah, star player doesn't even do him justice because he canceled Korova's invisible boundary. You heard Dissa, and she goes down. She got KO'd. So Pethig hit an incredible shot, closed it out for them. Now we're in the third phase of the map at a minute and 20 seconds between these two teams. Shib, it had to be this way as ChopperMag have ultimates to go at the very end. Rymazing is going to have to do something incredible again, like picking off Bobo, but Bobo is now on Wolverine, a lot tankier of a hero, an incredible player as well on top of that. So they're going to have to rely on Impunity with this during the prison. They're going for a quick flank maneuver here on the backside.
Yeah, I love this play because it's a dangerous position to be in to try to make a play happen there on the stairs when you see a Jeff. Oh, and an Emma. Out goes Impunity with a Strangling Prison, trying to do enough damage on the back line, able to find Skittles. A three-piece from Rymazing coming and make it four as Matera finds Duep. And oh my, these fights are wild as they once again sweep.
Wild, man, indeed. And Darkzero, this upcoming fight, Shib, we need to make sure that we don't lose our backline. Every single fight, they keep losing somebody in the middle of a Shredder's ultimate. For ChopperMag side, though, they need to get a huge, huge Jeff ult. Does Matera read the Jeff ult with his Meteor M? Does he want to KO him knowing Rymazing doesn't have his ult to combo? We'll have to find out in this fight.
Yeah, and there is no answer with a bubble or something to keep up the Jeff, so it could be huge here from Matera. Velocity does have copy available. Fidel, Skittles, and Pethig all ready as well. Bobo almost has that last stand. This is going to be an insane battle as the commitment comes through. Great bubble there to counter to make sure that that does not get reset. Pethig going to use that Q for virtually nothing in the moment, just the cooldown as Velocity now engages heavy for the Eternal Bond towards the back line. Going to be pulling out the cloak side and try to deal some damage, but still not going to work through the invisible boundary. Fidel pushes Matera off map, and that's one down. Make it two, why don't you? As Chopper, they lose one from Skittles going down from Velocity. Duep on a Rymazing. Pethig going to find a two-piece, and there's going to be one more fight on the retake, but that could be everything here. Does ChopperMag win it right now?
But Bobo just used his last stand. I mean, he could have locked him out of spawn with it, maybe. I don't know, but they have so many ults, like you mentioned. DZ overtime spawns as well. They're going to come back late, Shib, but they have the ults to do it. We'll have to find out.
Zen Starry on the high side. This could be a huge strangling, but it goes right towards Korova, who is in a dangerous spot. Does get matched right back as both ults are committed there. Forced to stay healthy. They use everything to stay on point, but they need to make something happen now. Jeff going to take the high side and not get Meteor. Great play.
No!
Skittles. Oh my goodness, Matera still going to find one and looking for two. Rymazing on a Pethig. This is up in their advantage. Duep going to start here with the Psionic. Will that work onto the back line? No, not enough time to move forward, and that's it.
What a map. What a freaking map, Shib. Darkzero, they win it in the third round, in the third phase of the map. What an incredible series this has been so far. 1-1, group stage number 2 of the day over on our broadcast on the Amer region. Whew, 1-1.
Holy moly, these have been battles everybody getting just a ton of value out of everything they're doing. I mean, I really think it was the smart play to just hide with Jeff in that moment, but still Mataro with the wherewithal to turn around, throw it right into the Groot, and immediately get a pick there instead, just knowing during that millisecond of time, still finding value, followed up by Rye Mazing to put numbers 2 up, and at that point in a final fight situation, you are in trouble.
Yeah, this has got to be one of the most entertaining series we've seen in general in the esport, just because it's high level, but you're still seeing some slight mistakes out of both teams. We'll see if they can patch them up, because this is an ongoing series, and we're entering the last map, the final elimination map of this group, of this day. And we'll have to see after this break for map number 3.
What it takes to become the best of the best.
The fight is gonna happen right here, right now.
Darkzero coming back and taking map 2, making it a 1-1 series as we head towards game 3. But now ChopperMag gets the choice of map. Will they be able to counter right back?
Probably, yeah. I mean, they looked very good on that last one. Now we go to Convoy, right? So an incredible series that was. And let's take a look at Void's to Astonish event, though, because right now in this game, in Marvel Rivals, we have so many incredible events going on, right, Shib? So we're going to have to take a look at that in a second. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, this is... And we're back in here checking out this event. Again, some of my favorite skins coming through here from this Halloween event. Look at this Moon Knight Blade. Are you kidding me? If you haven't watched Marvel Zombies, make sure you check that out, as there's some clear influence here. Gotta be biased, but I think this is the best Penny skin by far, and I'm not just saying that because it's the ad up here on the screen. This is sick. Look at this MVP.
Ooh, it's so clean. Love it. I mean, every skin in this game is just awesome with these brand new events, like you said, with Halloween coming up. The festivities are here and upon us, Shib. And we get to see that Penny Parker skin in its glory in that shop, available for our viewers right now.
Yeah, and those emotes coming through as well, as you get a look at what this skin can do, changing the abilities up. And that is, I'm sure Penny mains are stoked about that. And Penny, we've seen a little bit actually in Stage 2, especially on some of those triple holds on specific maps. I think Penny is finding a place in the meta, coming more meta, but granted, you know, definitely in ladder, absolutely viable. But at this level of play, they're trying to find ways around it. She's still so strong, but I personally...
What a highlight.
His MVP is so good.
It's so good. I know Vicky's probably having a good time over there, you know, talking about the Day of the Dead skins. They're awesome. So phenomenal. You can get the new Blade and Penny Parker skins in the store. And Shib, we're back in it, right? Back in these matches. And all of our pro players are playing that zombie game mode, like you mentioned, the PvE game mode, taking the top of the leaderboard. You were there for a little bit, for a couple days, right?
Yeah, duking it out, trying to get through Nightmare 4. It is no joke. And
I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah, they're already implementing some balance changes and stuff. So, again, these devs just always on top of things. Very, very fun. As we head in to our final map of this series, will the comeback come through, or will DZ maintain the wins and close this out?
Well, we're going to Spider Islands for the next map on our Convoy, so we'll find out. The devs are great, like you mentioned, but they've still yet to put in my idea of Big Head Mode perma in our games regularly. They've said, Dogman, you should stick to casting, buddy, not manage our updates. Right now, we have C, the Mantis, alongside the ban in the first place for Darkzero. They're getting rid of the Jeff. We just heard in the bathroom, by the way, Shib. I know it's a little bit of a TMI. But on the way, we talked to Impunity. He said, hate Jeff. And now you're saying they banned Jeff first. That's kind of funny.
Yeah. Matter as well, hating Jeff, cracking me up. But again, Jeff is just a little menace, you know? We talk about the little kid in a scary movie. That is what Jeff is, right? Jeff is just a nightmare when you hear him going under and those little shark noises coming at you.
Yeah, I hate it. He's awful to play against as a person that just wants to play the game and not be inside a Jeff's mouth. And Darkzero on the opposite side get to keep it this time. So we're almost switching, it feels like, the prioritization of the ban phase. And the Venom gets protected on the opposite side, knowing how good he is now, Shib. We've heard a lot of people say how good he is. We saw him at the end for Darkzero, but ChopperMag are fine letting Darkzero play that hero because they haven't really played it unless it's a stall.
Yeah, I mean, the Feast of the Abyss, for those who maybe haven't seen the update or haven't had eyes on the patch, exactly 30% damage reduction when you use that ultimate. And we've seen a little bit more of that coming in here with Helen Namor as well, but that damage reduction can mean a lot into a strategist line ult. If you heavy focus during that window, you can burst right through it. And, you know, we talk about at this level of play, but that focus is inherent, and they are able to make it work. Wow. As the lock-in of Star-Lord, too, who's also one of those duelists that is incredibly, common, especially with that triple backline.
Yeah, and this is interesting. They've basically swapped sides with their ban prioritization, right? Making sure they get that Emma matchup on the backside. Darkzero did. Right, they're the ones playing it. Last map, it was ChopperMag that wanted that Emma matchup. Didn't take full advantage of it in the previous one, but now on Spider Islands, it's going to be interesting, shit, because there's a lot of high ground. There's so many places that you can play these triple compositions when we see triple strategist, triple Vanguard, and we saw ChopperMag could play that comp too, but now, without the Emma, that changes a little bit of the dynamic, right?
Absolutely. You know, it leads to more unique triple compositions, and that has typically been the strategy. Some teams elect to not run the triple strat and try to keep it more traditional, but we found in the past just these teams that are able to run this comp and run this comp well, it typically works for them. It typically at least buys more time on point one to the point where everybody's scrambling through the next 2 phases of this map. So looking forward to seeing what the solution is here, and it looks like it's going to be Root, Emma, and you'll see Smash over there is going to, wow, I like this a lot with the Magneto. So this is going to be a little change up for DZ. The attack, we're going to see Zen Starry on that Venom like you had mentioned. And right at the moment, I don't want to jinx it, but Pethig is on DD.
Well, he is, and ChopperMag, from what I've seen, actually like to play a 2-2-2 style with Ultron as one of the backlines. It's not something that we've seen incredibly common at the beginning of Stage 2, but started to be prominent. ChopperMag obviously loved to play 2 DPS, and now we get to see, for the first time, their Daredevil.
First time seen here, at least on this stream. And granted, folks, there is 2 streams going on here for this tournament. Make sure you're checking both out to see which games are going on. And we'll start off now. Daredevil does a great job of steamrolling. Once he finds one, he can keep it moving. The lawyer with the most, if you will, going to engage and see how they're constantly using that throw just to deal consistent damage and not have to worry too much about focus on the aim and just keep the combos rolling as they have this space. But Matter are going to find Duep and turn that right back at him.
Yeah, good job staying alive in the back line, taking advantage of Emma Frost, who is known as the best hero against counter dive in the Vanguard line. And now, besides the thing, I suppose, but they walk on Skittles. Skittles gets poked out, diving around the corner, ducking, making sure they're avoiding that damage. But the peel is still here for Darkzero, who is still healthy.
And Matera owning, again, just staying on point, biding time. And that's all they need to do. Still going to move forward as he is just going to play around that cover. We talk about natural cover and how important that is. Playing around walls that are indestructible, make it so you do not have to burn cooldowns at an inoptimal time. We've seen Rymazing here on the Rocket multiple times in the past, and is continuing to do so even here on DZ. Ult's up 4 times for DZ, but Kurova gonna get that pick onto Pethig on a ChopperMag, who is then Starry going under with a Feast of the Abyss, which does not get too much value. Really good defense here.
Yeah, I mean, Pethig swapping over to Iron Fist. We know he's gotten buffed in the previous patch to deal with tanks a little bit more, and now we also commit Velocity's ult because he went for the copy. So he has to. God of Mischief eventually runs out anyways. Gonna get out of that ult now. But regardless, ChopperMag switching it up, right? They're keeping Fidel on that Ultron, making sure that they just still want to go full aggression, full damage. We'll see if they can take advantage now, as they do have combinations with Duep.
Yeah, and in some of these interviews, I've always said, I think Iron Fist is the new Wolverine, as we see the switch coming in here from Pethig. Zen Starry going to find impunity in that moment, and it's Jeff going through 2. Looks like it is in a good position, but the damage goes out, the bubble as well. Kurova trying to escape is going to fall there. Good damage from the side of Bobo with follow-up from Duet. Pethig going to find impunity again. Very difficult to get an Iron Fist off the front line, who can just deal so much damage with that overall health damage.
I mean, they're going in aggressive again. The Iron Fist swap's actually working quite well, as eventually Majora falls. So does Rymazing. And shit, I mean, that was just beautiful by ChopperMag. Peel off that Strangling Prison from the Darkzero side, and then eventually come through with Duep, like you saw. And then also the fact that the Jeffs, man, we've heard so many Jeff players say it's very hard to play against Daredevil. Very hard still to play against Iron Fist, who can just pummel you into the ground constantly. And they actually commit Soul Resurgence now on the portal play from Darkzero.
Yeah, the recent changes to Fist make him more valuable as a Vanguard buster than a backline dive, and that's what we're seeing here. It's so difficult to push him away from the front line, who just constantly just chipping away their HP is. We see it right now. Out goes that Psionic. The block goes through from Pethig, who does, wow, still gets trans, but great movement to escape and at least be trans in a position that does not make it dangerous. As Rymazing goes down, Smash gonna find Zen Starry. Pethig again gonna find another pick as it's cleaned up there. Fidel gonna find Velocity, impunity now onto Bobo. Kurova in a dangerous spot, getting walked out on from Pethig, and we'll look at Smash.
Oh, he's alive.
6 HP.
How is he alive too? Are you kidding me? No mistakes right now, Shib. It's back and forth. Smash falling back. Does get healed by the Jeff with that team up. Eventually they get impunity in Madara. What a lengthy fight.
Yeah, and this is what they're looking for, though. It's not about winning, as long as you're stalling. And that's what they're doing, as there will be a one-fight situation here before point 1. And if they're able to retake this with DZ, potentially with a big itch Jeff, it could be over on the attack for the side of ChopperMag. But there are some answers here with the Rage of Ultron and with that Meteor M. Great answers, if you will, to the itch Jeff, as long as that bubble gets bursted from Smash.
And DZ looked really improved on their triple composition. Now they come in. We'll see what ults they pop first. But on the backside, ChopperMag disengage it, play it slow, want to set up Zen Starry yet again.
Starry gonna walk backwards, out goes that Rage, and the dunk comes through, but that one does not get too much value. Nobody goes down just yet. 3 ults get launched here from ChopperMag, who still can't get too much value, and that's unfortunate, as now DZ has some answers coming in here. The itch Jeff goes under. Matera gonna find Pethig early. Bobo, though, gonna steal a ton of damage to the front line, but unfortunately not enough as it is going to be a moot point. They're still holding on as Kurova has great positioning here with Jeff. Not able to get too much through with the ult there. Skittles with the dance floor goes through as Impunity is going to find that pick. And they are holding. Matara going to take out Zenstari, and what a defense here by DZ. And at this point, OT is a sliver. Can they shut it down before the portal comes through? No, the portal does come through from Pethig.
Yeah, it does, but they're also still on that Ultron Invis comp right on a 2-2-2 style. Maybe with this Captain America, they could stall it out longer. They're still touching. That's what the pros are so good at, staying in this box to contest the overtime. They lose Bobo, but they're still touching at the very least, building up towards ultimates.
And that was a great play here from Impunity. Just shift towards the back line. Skittles very low, going to commit the ult and still going to make it happen. Matara going to find new weapon. At this point, I think it's a matter of time as Pethig goes down for Amazing, who's playing that aggressive rocket. And Fidel tries to hold on, but not for enough time. What a defense here by DZ. ChopperMag, unfortunately, not able to get through point one. We have been here before and have seen it be held.
We have definitely, and especially in North America, it's something that happens kind of frequently, right? It feels like teams, you know, the more that there's on the line, the more pressure that adds up, and sometimes they can definitely lose fight after fight after fight, and, you know, we're at like a minute left, but ChopperMag, really good job contesting in that fight. You see that very end, you know, you saw, I believe it was Zenstari jump up, but that's a rectangle, right? The box cut off after that payload's high ground, or like right above the top of the convoy. But regardless, Darkzero, and specifically Impunity, we saw how well he played on Venom, but also the new effect of Venom, right? With that healing reduction, right? The new addition to allow Jeff to leave a giant pool of healing behind him. Could not save Pethig in that fight, who was on Iron Fist, because he got hit by the Feast of the Abyss, which had, you said, I believe, 30% healing reduction on him. So he went down, and with that, ChopperMag pretty much lost the fight.
Yeah, great call out there. That is exactly how that final fight broke out. But again, DZ, I believe, if my memory serves me correct, had this exact same situation against Sen and did get pushed off point prior to being able to take through point one. And that was the last time we've seen them competitively on this map. So I'm not here to say that history repeats itself. I do not mean to cast a curse, but that is the situation that we are currently in. And ChopperMag do the same thing here.
Yeah, luckily for the side of Darkzero, I'm assuming that Matara has eyes on the objective, right? We know where it is at all times now. He's been coached many a time since that pretty bad Darkzero in that fight. Amazing early pick on his Skittles, dude.
Yeah, Amazing just so strong on these more off-meta or more unique picks, and we've seen magic out of Amazing before the buff even came through or the team up came in through with Strange. Smash going to find Pethig, though, 2 numbers up. Amazing committing heavy with a dive, going to get a second on a Bobo with Impunity and great coordination on the 3-2-1 there.
That's beautiful, man. Like, there's no team up between Magic and Venom, but you wouldn't know it with how that worked out with the symbiotic-like connection that Amazing and Impunity have. They also get Kurova, though, and they find Amazing, so somehow ChopperMag, like they've done every other map, working themselves back into it.
Yeah, that's a good retake there, but at this point they are at bridge, which is typically the portal point. You want to come back through, but either way, you still could have 3 fights guaranteed with that portal available. UF going to keep fighting in the front line there on that tap. Dive through on the back line comes through. Great peel as well from the side of Zenstari, who tries to pull away the side of Impunity, who is still happy and healthy at the current moment, but Zenstari just going to play on point. Deal a ton of damage towards the back line. Will this pick come through? But almost gets deleted in the sky. Is able to just barely escape with 100 on that shield.
And they find Kurova again. Oh no, that's the second time in a row. Pethig has been doing so much on the Venom switch up. Usually you don't see these duelists play these heroes. Smash also falls. Eye of Agamotto from Matara, but I mean, wait, it's too late at this point unless Impunity could get a massive Feast of the Abyss along with Amazing.
Yeah, tried to catch him right outside that ult, but just barely missed there. Amazing going to commit here with Darkchild, looking towards the backline for the cancel. Not able to make that happen, but a good idea. As Amazing drops backwards towards the point. Is going to stay healthy at the moment, but the Darkchild not going to get too much value. We might see a switch here, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's not really working at the current moment. Too disengaged, and this is, you talked about it, this is anybody's game still, even though Darkzero, full held ChopperMag, it could be the fuller hold. Now Impunity with that team up alongside the Thing, ready to toss his little Wolverine buddy into the sky and maybe find a kidnap.
Fastball special, able to work right there. The good double tackle from Smash. A ton of damage goes out, but not able to make it happen there with the follow-up as Pethig commits there for the Feast of the Abyss. The heal goes through, and it is not enough to make anything completely happen, but it does buy time. Kurova very low there, able to retake Bobo now. Is going to have that res available for Warlock.
Dude, Velocity's so shifty. He went to the high ground, I believe, or just run away. They completely lost him, and now with that, Pethig finally, could they find him? No, swings away. Venom is just so tanky.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much tackling going on. Fidel going to find Amazing, who is now on that Daredevil with the switch up, and there is that Daredevil once more, but Once again, not able to make anything happen just yet. Smash doing a great job here on these tackles. Looking to the high side, gonna have another throw with a fastball, and does land once more. And the E gets burned here. The copy is huge. A Smash gets a two-piece with a follow-up from Velocity.
Board again.
But there's that res from Bobo. Everybody back in the fight. Will they be able to keep the momentum, or is that res gonna stop it as Impunity finds Fidel, but that res comes through. And at this point, the team's gonna overcommit, because why not? You just come right back into the fight.
Yeah, they're still back in it. I mean, just able to take down more. They eventually lose to Web. Skittle still has that copy. The God of Mitch just comes out. Does Darkzero have enough sustain? Kurova with the ultimate could finally take him out, but last time he was countered, is he maybe too scared? Triple seems to be ChopperMag's home.
Oh my goodness, Daredevil gonna start up right now, blinding everybody in the backline. Bobo trying to escape Daredevil and is not able to do so, but does have that res still available. They head now again towards that Loki and Invis, but will they have the follow-up? Web trying to peel now as Daredevil almost finds another, but is going to be in a dangerous spot. Bobo gonna self-res now in a high side position, and it is anyone's game with 19 seconds on the clock.
I mean, a huge pickup on his Zenstari with that Loki on velocities. Maybe not letting that damage impact him now. ChopperMag have no ultimates. They need to play slow for some. Maybe let Zenstari stall, but it's going to be really close against Kurova, who has that E available.
Smash's tackles are insane. Back to back, another huge one there on a duet. Madara is going to find one, or Madara, excuse me, right, amazing now onto Bobo with another pick, really showcasing the power of Daredevil in this moment. Velocity on the high side with some insane positioning, finds Fidel. Will this be enough? Still, I do not think you can stop that Loki spot. It is insane right now. Smash with a big last, actually not, it does not find too much value, but Velocity is just owning, and that should do it as DZ takes the W.
What a map and what a series between Darkzero and ChopperMag. We heard how good ChopperMag is. Maybe not as many people talking about Darkzero, but today they won. They were the better team in the group stage at the very beginning. The second match of the day, Shib, it's that good. I can't wait for the rest of this tournament, especially the playoffs at the end of the week. Darkzero are your victors today, though.
Wow. What a series of back and forth plays from both teams. Again, like you said, ChopperMag, insanely strong team. Darkzero cannot be slept on. They looked wild, and even pulling out the Daredevil, getting a win with Daredevil, the first ever win, at least on this stream so far. I haven't really checked into the other side to see what that looks like, but well played across the board. Virtually everyone finding finals.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even like there was a weakness on either side. I mean, both teams made slight mistakes, but at the current moment, it's, as Madara says in chat, a good game, right? That was just a good game of Marvel Rivals, and we're excited to see some more, Shib, as we progress in that weekend. Darkzero, though, huge shout-out to, in my opinion, I think the MVP was Velocities throughout the series. Yes, he was getting picked off sometimes, same thing with Kurova, but I feel like him on the Loki, dude, he was on KO ball every single time, dodging to the heights in the high grounds. There was the huge tackles by Smash, like you said. It was great plays by him, but I don't know, man. Velocities was just playing really good today.
Yeah, and doing a great job with all tracking as well and leading some of those comms, as the team typically keeps comms together as a unit. But yeah, that position was wild. But yeah, that was a insane